Welcome to Turning Inward. Our intention today is to open your heart and nurture your spirit as you travel on the road without miles, moving inward on your epic and personal journey of self-discovery. I am Rebecca Polvey, your co-host, and I'm here with Dr. Vivian&rsquo. This is the first episode of our Winter 2015 season. We are excited to continue to share concepts from Love Being Human with you and grateful that you are here with us. Today, we'll be exploring the concept of time together.
This podcast offers you the opportunity to explore new perspectives through compelling interviews with beautiful human beings and words of wisdom and love. This show was created to guide and inspire you. If you're looking for more meaning in your day-to-day life, if you're looking to be wowed by everyday people, if you're on a journey to joy, peace of mind, freedom, or a wild new adventure, then honey, you are in the right place. Welcome to Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome, Vivian. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. I'm excited about talking about this today, Vivian.
I am too. I really am. I think what comes to mind first and foremost is that this is the only non-renewable resource.
Exactly.
We cannot get back what we lose in time.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. I think I have a couple of questions for you. And I think the first one was going to be, what is time? And it looks like you started talking about time a little bit right there.
Well, I want to reframe that question a little bit. I think it's not what, but how. Because if I understand the time for me is critical in the here and now. And that for me is because, and what I wrote down is that all there will ever be is what's happening here in this moment. And the reason for that is the question isn't what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. It's the being in your doing. And so, in the line and the vein of love being human, are you doing things in love and with presence and with attention? Or are they done with, more negative emotions and a more, I don't know, not so fun? I can think back to when I used to change the boys' diapers, even though it was 23 and almost 19 years ago. And I think about, I'm actually cleaning poop and I'm going, this is my baby. and I hate, that might not be a good, relatable story for anyone, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And that's how I see time.
Well, that's funny, Vivian. Well, when I started thinking about time, I'll just back it up to what the very first thing that came to me, I guess, is that we've structured our lives around time measured by clocks, and it's really an illusion. You have the past, present, and future. And as a people, we have decided to measure time in years, days, hours, minutes, and seconds, kind of related to the Earth's rotation around the sun. So, be a reality to say for the majority of us humans that time's thought of that way. Or you say time, the first thing they do is look at their watch. But I guess what you just said, time is one thing that all human beings, we have that in common for a maximum of 24 hours a day. And money can't buy more time. And the only thing you can do is just choose how you're going to utilize that time. How do you select to spend those 24 hours?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the word that you used, illusion. And I want to share with you, when the American government went through a furlough and we were forced to stop work, the first thing that I did is just got rid of time. There was no, that was my pivot. That was my shift from towards what I want to do versus away from what I'm trying to avoid. And it just allowed me so much more freedom. The only quote time that I looked at time or tried to coordinate myself with the world was to make it to my yoga class on time. And the rest of it was, I really wanted to explore what my body naturally wanted to do, when it wanted to go to sleep, when it wanted to wake up, and, kind of pay attention to when I had the most energy and when I felt most contemplative. And it was an amazing 2 weeks.
Wow, interesting. Well, it looks like you decided how you were going to spend your 24 hours.
I did within the control that I had.
And that makes me think about, I guess I was thinking about, or I referenced, I think I did, past, present, and future in relation to time. And I guess you can say the present decides the future, and then you have all the possibilities open to you in the future.
That's such a good point. And I'm so glad you came back to that, because I was thinking of, when we were looking at this theme, there was two sort of concepts that I was wanting to share. And one was the idea of a fisherman. I've never made a living as a fisherman, but there's a story in the Bible that talks about the fishermen and how they plan and prepare by preparing their nets and getting everything ready. But once they cast that net into the sea, they don't know what's going to come up for them. And it's a really good way for us as human beings in this world to relate to our efforts. We prepare and we plan, but we have to hold very loosely what we are going to bring into form. We can have an idea of it. We can have sort of a framework, sort of a blurry vision. But if we hold that outcome loosely and we own the action and how we're doing it in the present moment, I think it gives us so much more fulfillment and purpose in anything that we're doing. And I feel that when I've been able to do that in whatever role I've had, both personally and professionally, it really has connected me more deeply to what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, and what I'm doing it for. So I like that idea of past, present, and future, and our illusion of it.
Oh, I agree. And it's a little bit like you can't change the past, but you can change how you react to it. You could say that the past has kind of collapsed into what's happened, and maybe it can be considered a stepping stone. You can care about a past, not just as a stepping stone, but a valuable learning experience.
And this, I think, also brings another concept to mind that we don't explore enough as human beings, and that's our story. Our past is a story. The action that happened is simply an action until we give it meaning. And you're right. It's a heavy path when you're carrying a load on your back, from way back when. But the other thing about the future, I do like to use the future in a way, like when I'm making a decision and I try to think forward 5, 10, maybe 50 years from now, if it's a really important decision. And I think, what would my best self, what would who I am at my ideal do in this case or in this situation? Because, and I'm going to totally mess it up, but Rob Bell talks about the atoms at their smallest, tiniest. They don't move from one place to another. He's explaining a scientific theory, and he does it beautifully. They don't move from one place to another. They actually disappear and reappear in another place. The only time that the infinite potential of what can happen is narrowed down to one action is when that atom is being watched. And I've experienced this personally. When I observe myself as if I'm a third person, I believe that I make better decisions and take better actions than if I'm simply moving through the world without any kind of awareness. Because we have an infinite potential of possibilities in front of us.
That's so interesting. That sounds like something my husband could really relate to. So it sounds like, could you say that how you react in the present defines your course in the future?
Yes. Yes. All that will ever be is what's happening here in the decisions we make right in this moment. And the question, again, isn't what we're doing, is how we're doing it.
So I guess I wonder how you would say time fits into the love being human process. I mean, I can see the love being human path helping one gain the tools to choose how to react for, like you mentioned, positive, like gaining the tools to choose how to react for a positive future outcome.
You know, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is anyone that's looking at or using love being human as a tool. First, I think you have to look at it with a bias and say it's not true unless it's true for me. And so that gives the person that's exploring it, you know, a sense of responsibility and a sense of ownership. And because love being human, even though there's a pathway to follow, there's a process, you know, you experience your own emotions, you experience your own both obstacles and opportunities as a human being, so that you come through this journey more from understanding rather than, you know, understanding the situation rather than repressing it and pushing it away or chasing it down like a warrior. You know what I mean? And you do that by finding, you know, that's the human piece. That's the foundation, is where we are in our whole well-being. You know, how are we understanding ourselves? And that's different for everyone. And then the second piece, you know, with being is how am I pausing? What stillness practice am I using? You know, how am I being grounded and renewing my spirit? And that, again, is very, very individualistic to everyone. And then again, you know, love. And I think this is where time and love meet in eternity, you know, in this moment. The eternity is in the now. And it's in the now because it is where everything is being created. It is not, you know, like you said, it's not the future and it's not the past. It is the birth of our world, the recreation of ourselves. It is where all the juice is. And that's how I would relate love being human to time.
Well, thank you, Vivian. That's beautiful. Well, then I guess I'm just wondering, it occurred to me that if we want to talk about the present, I know we talked a little bit about past and present and future, but there was one thing that popped in my head, and that I think the present is relative to each individual, because every person is going to see their life from a different viewpoint. And I think the present is the only thing that you do have control over. And maybe it's important to think about living in the present rather than hanging on to the past, even if it was fabulous. Because if you do that, you live in the past and you don't leave space for the present as well as the future.
I agree with you. And you know, present sounds like a gift, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, it does.
It's like, this is your present. It's like,
you're right.
That brings to mind, I am working on something else that connects with this, and I think that so often we fear the life that we're living more than we fear death. You know, we don't know how much time we have. So I find it odd that I hear so very often, if this happens, then that will be, you know, when I do have, you know, finish, start. And there's all this constraint around what we're able to do. And one of the practices that I love taking people through is, you know, basically time travel. So if you are waiting for the ideal, whether it has 5, 10, or 10 minutes from now. How do you find that ideal in this moment? Excuse me. And I learned that just based on my own experiences, and other people can probably relate to them. You have this idea that when I do this, and then you get that thing done, and you're like, well, wait a minute, nothing magical happened. So you think I'll do it again. That happened to me when I finished my first degree. It was, because I started from a place that my dad would talk about going to college, and I thought it was like I was going to San Antonio. It's a location, yes, of course I'm going to college. Why wouldn't I? And in my mind, I didn't even have a concept that it was an institution where you acquired knowledge. I had no idea. I thought it was a place. So I had to get there. And when I finally got there and conferred my first degree, I looked around and I was like, where's the stardust? Oh my goodness, where is the band? And so I just did it again. And on that, my graduate degree, I was waiting for that magical moment when I would feel like I was smart enough. And, my experience really changed when I was pursuing my doctorate. And I don't know if it was age or experience or what it was, but I didn't want that experience to end. I was in my magical zone. I was engrossed and just immersed in my topic of interest, and spent hours at a time. And I could say, well, I'm writing my dissertation, and it was okay by society's culture to read and read and read and read. But I didn't want it to end. So when I started to approach that moment when I was going to confer my degree and walk across the stage, they asked us to write 50 words, and we'll include this in the show notes. But the 50 words that I wrote were something along the lines of, I might be finishing this, but I'm actually turning towards you because I went through this entire experience, with you. It's nothing we do is alone. And so, I think that again goes back to the story of the fisherman. We can prepare and we can, do and we can move towards, but we have to own the action that we're doing and not so much the outcome. Because I think, especially for people that have achieved, I think it was Jim Carrey at a college address said, I really wish that everyone had absolutely everything they've ever dreamed of. Because then they would realize that is not what is going to really fulfill you. It's not going to fill you up. And that really turns us back around to love being human. Love being human is, like we say in the intro, it's that journey without miles. It's that walk back home to your own heart. And I think at every point, we go through that. And for some, it's not a good experience because it's surrounded by loss, or anger, or, hurt. And for others, and I'm not going to say the lucky ones, but for others, it's just a moment of epiphany, like, I get it now. So I think that turning towards ourselves is also time in its infinity.
Well, Vivian, that is just beautiful. I have so enjoyed spending time talking with you about time today.
Investing. Let's not say spending. We're all investing time.
The present of time today.
Yes, the gift. The gift. I think
Absolutely.
the gift of each other and the gift of everyone that's with us, on listening. So.
Yes, and we thank everyone for being with us here today. And if they enjoyed the conversation, we would like to invite them to connect further with us by joining our inner circle at vivian&rsquo.com. And maybe I can close with a saying from Vivian, and that's remember, move with purpose, and take inspired action.
Thank you for joining us today here on Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian. If the show moved the needle for you, please leave an honest review in iTunes. And also make sure you cruise on over to vivian&rsquo.com and join us for personal strategies and tips to help you move forward. Ciao, baby.